want to bring in our amazing all-star panel, Mehek Cooke, political commentator, former Congresswoman Nan Hayworth, represented our big swing state of New York these days, and Chris Stigall, the host of the Chris Stigall Show on Salem Radio Network, and also our de facto Pennsylvania correspondent. Guys, good to see you all. I was a little shocked this morning when I flipped around the morning news, as I do because of the addiction that I have, on how little play this big Ukrainian minerals deal got. And just to give our audience a set, I want to play Secretary Scott Bessent announcing this deal last night. Take a look, and then I want you guys to react to this.
Thanks to President Trump's tireless efforts to secure a lasting peace, I am glad to announce the signing of today's historic economic partnership agreement between the United States and Ukraine, establishing the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This partnership allows the United States to invest alongside Ukraine to unlock Ukraine's growth assets, mobilize American talent, capital, and governance standards that will improve Ukraine's investment climate and accelerate Ukraine's economic recovery. The Development Finance Corporation will participate and help to establish this fund in collaboration with the government of Ukraine. Today's agreement signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. It's time for this cruel and senseless war to end. The killing must stop, and both the United States and the government of Ukraine look forward to quickly operationalizing this historic economic partnership for both the Ukrainian and American people.
All right, Nan Hayworth, I want to start with you. Your former left-wing colleagues in Congress always talk about Trump cozying up to Putin. We're not supporting Ukraine enough. And there's Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, making it very clear. By us being involved, by us having an economic stake in this, that is a clear and undeniable signal to Putin. Guess what now? We're in there too. An attack on Ukraine is an attack on us. This, to me, was a brilliant cudgel. Instead of just sending them weapons and saying good luck in fighting, now Russia knows, the U.S. has got an economic stake in Ukraine. An attack on Ukraine is basically a de facto attack on the United States. And, oh, by the way, we make some money along the way. What a win for the United States and a win to stop the war, Nan.
Yes, Sean, in all ways. And those of us who have understood President Trump's intentions for not just America, and as Scott Bessent was saying yesterday, America first, yes, but not America alone. And so we have understood that this deal, which should have happened a month ago or more, but for Volodymyr Zelensky's having listened to congressional Democrats who tried to push him to confront President Trump instead of saying, thank you, this is a great partnership, let's get this done and win for everyone. Now we see the results of what President Trump and Secretary Bessent, who's such a great partner for him, both of them are capable of seeing around corners, basically. That's why they're such great negotiators. President Trump sets the vision. Scott Bessent is able to keep up right along with him. Brilliant success for all concerned, and repudiates, as you have said, Sean, the notion that was always laughable on its face, that President Trump was somehow allied with the interest of Vladimir Putin, other than to have world peace, which Putin did not want and does not want.
Right. Chris Stigall, will you at all, I was flicking around this morning. For all of these hand wringers who constantly are like, Ukraine war, and then we've got to put an end to it. I was like, wait a second. This is a huge win for the United States first. Secondly, it's a huge win in toward ending the war. And suddenly they spent most of their time talking about Bill Belichick's interview on CBS from a week ago than whether or not this was a great sign for the end of the war. And I'm like, it's just funny. When Trump gets a win, it's like, okay, next.
Yeah, no, that as much as it takes, as long as it takes, seemed like a perfectly reasonable answer from Joe Biden to the media for how long, which was an insane answer to me, by the way. I never understood how any American could be settled by a president saying we were just going to throw, as the Congresswoman said, endless sums of money and munitions at Ukraine forever with no expectation of an outcome, no metric whatsoever, just keep it flowing. Here's a guy who said, tell you what, it's tough to sell the American public on as much as it takes, as long as it takes, but we'll hang with you if you give us a reason to, and your rare earth minerals are a reason to. And you're exactly right as you set it up. Now we've got business to do there, and the American public better understands why we would want to protect our interests, our business interests, our financial interests in being helpful to Ukraine. This is how you win the American public's support to Ukraine's side. More importantly, I think that's what Trump did today.
Mehek, can I just say one thing that's funny? I was listening to one of these experts talk about this, and I didn't realize this going in. But he started to talk about where the rare earth minerals are. And you know where they are? In a lot of the areas right near where Russia's trying to control. So guess what that means? Like, again, I feel like Trump just played a massive game of chess, and everyone else was sitting around playing like tic-tac-toe and didn't realize what was happening. And it comes out and it's like, I honestly, I know I said it to Chris Stigall in terms of the media, but like, I just don't know if people fully appreciate what just happened in front of their face.
Well, Sean, the media doesn't appreciate what just happened because they have over 92% or 94% bet against President Trump. All they want to focus is on the negative. So as we continue to get wins, and when I say we, it's every single American. I don't care if you're an independent, Democrat, or Republican. This is a win because we now know where our dollars are going, where the investments are going, and we're not sitting here as lame ducks. That's what we were under the Biden administration. We were waiting to see what Russia was going to do. And there was going to be hell to pay if Kamala Harris was in charge today. Media is not going to cover this. This was the biggest negotiation. What media was interested in was that deal with Zelensky, J.D. Vance, and Trump, where they continued to trash our president instead of say, this is the negotiation part. This is the art of the deal. And President Trump is going to continue to deliver, not just on Russia and Ukraine, but the Middle East as well. The mess we're in is because of complacency by people like Biden and Democrats.
Yeah. So I want to get to the cabinet meeting yesterday. I've never seen anything like this, guys. 2 hours, open press with all of these people, each one of the cabinet. I felt like it was report card time. Like it was like, okay, we're going around the table. You're going to tell me what, and I know the media was like, but I felt like, okay, I now know as a taxpayer what every one of these people's doing, what they've accomplished. J.D. Vance got to set the table. I want to play for you. Like, let's hear how he kicked things off.
At the risk of insulting everybody else at the table, I believe that I'm the youngest member sitting at the table. And, it occurred to me that from the time that I was born to the time that Donald J. Trump was inaugurated just a few months ago, we went from, again, 40 years, we went from the world's manufacturing superpower to one in which we depend on the People's Republic of China to make the things that we need. We went from the proudest military in the world to one in which we failed to meet our recruiting goals. And we went from one in which bipartisan border policy was the consensus of both Democrats and Republicans to one in which we allowed 20 million people to run roughshod illegally over the countryside, causing crime, causing a stress in the welfare system. And again, that happened over the lifetime of the youngest member of the cabinet. And what has happened in 100 days is that we've started to reverse every single one of those negative trends. And I think what it shows to me is that the president, and you sit in the Oval Office and you see these portraits of presidents past. And let's be honest, most of them have been placeholders. They've been people who have allowed their staff to sign executive orders with an auto pen instead of men of action. And the reason the media attacks this administration as chaotic is because the president is solving the problems the American people set about to solve.
Okay. So Nan Hayworth, I wanted to play that because I actually thought that really encapsulated the sea change. Like sometimes I can't put my finger on something, and what JD said yesterday, I thought that's it. Like it's so many things, and we'll play a couple of these, but I felt like every one of the people the EPA Administrator, Lee Zeldin, Ag Secretary, Brooke Rollins, HUD Secretary, Scott Turner. Like, they each had something of significance to say. In the last 100 days, here are the wins that I've gotten for the American people. Like, the ship has turned big time. We're not talking about nibbling on the edges and midnight basketball like Bill Clinton. This is like each cabinet member had a serious report of serious stuff that they did.
Yes, Sean. It was like a very happy episode of The Apprentice, if you will.
You all did a great job. No one's getting fired.
Right, no one's getting fired. But by the same token, everybody knows that they are keeping up as best they can with the most prolific and genuinely a brilliant man in the form of President Trump, who has had this vision and held this vision for his entire adult life. If you look back at, his interviews from years ago, and now it is being fulfilled, and not for his aggrandizement, but for the sake of the American people and the heart that they have for the American worker, for the American farmer, for the American taxpayer, and for communities that have suffered so much under the, particularly under the past, under the 4 years of Biden, but before that, Obama, who set the table for a lot of disaster. So it was a tour de force with every cylinder firing, every department proving that they are working every day in tangible ways, as you said, Sean, in material and substantive ways to improve the lives of Americans, to improve the strength and prosperity of this nation so that we can be the best partner to all of the nations around the world that need us to be strong.
So let me ask you guys this question. And I mean this so I'm going to ask it in a positive way, because I don't think there's a negative, but is there somebody or something in the last 100 days that you've been pleasantly surprised by? So when he announced this cabinet, when he came in office, something that you maybe thought, okay, I'll give you an example. Like I knew he'd secure the border, right? And I think that's, but the style and speed at which he did it, right? Or is there somebody in the cabinet who, when you listen to that list yesterday, you go, you know what? I didn't expect so-and-so to be so good. Like, Mehek, is there somebody or something that has stood out for you in the last 100 days that went maybe above and beyond where you thought that they would be or what they would have done when this started in January?
Look, Sean, there's no doubt that I think J.D. Vance is exceptional being from Ohio, but I also think he's the secret weapon in this administration. He doesn't have a microphone in his face 24/7. I love the transparency of this administration. I feel like I'm a part of the White House. I have a front seat right there center. But J.D. Vance is traveling across the country and the world, and he's moving and shaking deals with the prime minister in India. He was with the Pope before he passed. I mean, he's doing a lot of behind the scenes deals to make sure that we're delivering greatness. While President Trump sets that agenda, he's putting his head down and working. I love that man and what he's doing for our country today.
Yeah. Actually, this is why I love these kind of questions, because I'm not sure I would have, but you're absolutely right. I was like, he probably is the most consequential vice president at this pace or place of any. So, all right, Chris Stigall, you're up. You're in the barrel, baby.
Well, first of all, Mehek's 100% right. I heard your buddy Mark Halperin say he's probably the most powerful, influential vice president we've seen, maybe ever. I don't know, but that's true.
But the thing, Chris, is that it's also what Mehek touched on, which is fascinating, is the style, right? It's not like Dick Cheney, who was very powerful, but everybody knew it. What Mehek said that was so brilliant, as I keep digesting this right now, was that he's doing it in a way where he's not trying to get credit or in the spotlight. It's behind the scenes.
That's it.
And I always love when you realize, like, somebody is so smart or brilliant and they're not. Like, Washington, D.C. is built on people who are like, let me tell you how powerful I am. And did you know I know 5 other people that are really important? Whereas, like, what JD does is, like, it's his sheer the brilliance shines in because he doesn't say it.
Yeah. You know what I think about all these people? All of them share something in common, in my opinion, and that is none of them are, they love the history of this country, the tradition, they love the people of the country. They are not impressed with the trappings of the office. I find so often these people get to the White House, and this is as highfalutin and fancy as they're ever going to live life, and they just like being in the system. These people are there to fix and improve the system. They are not there to live and be of it. They all exude, I'm bringing my excellence from the outside in. We're temporary stewards of this thing. This is you guys, the American people's property and money and facility. We're treating it as such. We're temporary stewards. They all have that attitude. I'll say in terms of individuals that blew me away, who thought that the Treasury Secretary was going to be one of the most interesting people to listen to regularly? I think he's genius.
Same thing, though, but dude, brilliant call. And the way that you're describing it, so good. Scott Bassett just says it like he's not, jumping up and down. That video wasn't exactly like full of energy, but it's like, boom.
He's just like the president. He doesn't need this job, Sean. He doesn't need this job. It's like people question, is he serious? Of course he's serious. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be sitting there. He doesn't need this gig. He's brilliant. I love it. More Besant, please.
Yes. All right, Nan Hayworth, bring us home. We're 2 for 2.
Well, I will say that I have been particularly impressed with Marco Rubio and his evolution from the jejune figure, if you will, whom we witnessed in the 2016 primary season. And in that debate in which Chris Christie just frankly demolished him, which was hard to witness. And President Trump, of course, little Marco. To see him mature as a statesman, he is, I think he's done a flawless performance. He is articulate. He is fast on his feet. He is handling a world situation in behalf of the president, in behalf of the United States, that is extraordinarily difficult. And I think I have been repeatedly impressed by his eloquence and his rational, intelligent approach. Really, to me, most improved to me goes to Secretary Rubio.
May I jump in on Nan's point there? I was about to say him. I changed my mind to Besant, but I was about to point out yesterday, specifically to what the Congresswoman said, when someone asked about these illegal gangbangers being brought back, he jumped in without missing a beat and looked right in the eye of that reporter and said, that isn't the way this works. I don't care what some judge said. We're in charge of the show. And then he laid out the State Department's insidious plan to silence Americans. She's exactly right. He's a surgeon. He's fascinating to watch.
It's like mental, it's like verbal jujitsu. I love when he goes on like Sunday shows. It's like, I got to watch this because they'll come at him and be like, Secretary Rubio, you threw this guy out. And he just sits back and he's like, Margaret, do you understand Section 142 of the Internal Code that allows us to do the following? That gentleman had done, and it's like, whoa. I mean, it's just, I'm okay. I'll give you, like, you've taken all the good ones. And I see the thing I love about what you guys just said isn't just the name, but the analysis that you put behind each one of those things. It's like, it's so deep, right? And Chris, your point about history, when Secretary Rubio or Bassett, like they all, and even like they come to you with a sense of explaining that it's not just a one line talking point or something, but I want to play you guys what Elon said yesterday at the cabinet. Take a look.
Elon, I love the double hat, by the way. He's the only one that can do that. Get away with it.
Well, Mr. President, they say I wear a lot of hats. It's true. Even my hat has a hat.
My hat has a hat. I mean, I love it. But I will say this, because you guys took a bunch of the good ones, but I will say the idea, I have, I spent 3 years on the budget committee. I am so annoyed by the lack of attention that the waste and the inefficiencies in our government get paid by a lot of people who want to pay lip service to it. I see Nan totally, as a member of Congress, I can't believe how many times things get brought up and they go, yeah, just not this year, right? And what Elon has done to expose the waste and fraud. And so here's what I would just say on that point. I am worried, truly, that as he sort of segues out of his official role at DOJ I know they're saying he'll spend some more time, but without his leadership, I don't know. I'm a little worried that this doesn't continue at the same pace.
See, Sean, I think he's going to continue to be active. That's what I think. I think he's going to continue to call out mainstream media and Congress. And the fact that we have X and him on X every single day, ensuring that people are watching every move of Congress and this kind of transparency. I think even though he's not sitting in the White House, he's still going to be observing because he still has that mission to stand behind President Trump and make sure that we have excellence in this country.
Sean, I don't mean to interrupt your show, but I think you'd probably want to know it. As we're recording and talking today, Fox is reporting Mike Walls is out.
Well, Mark Halperin predicted that this morning on the morning meeting, that he would be fired. I was actually skeptical because Waltz had been on Fox this morning making the case. So, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? It's funny because the way Mark reported it this morning was that it's not because of Signalgate. It's not because of his views that some think he's a neocon or whatever. It's that they didn't think that he was running the NSC well, which is something that, frankly, I wasn't picking up.
No.
Anyone else? I mean, I had not picked that up. And I've known Mike a long time. He wrote a great book on his experience as a special forces ranger. And I'm surprised. I mean, we have Seb Gorka on the show all the time. I know he's a former colleague of yours, Chris, and Seb was always singing Mike's praises.
Yes, he defends him. I don't know. I don't want to read too much into this, but I did think it's strange that Donald Trump invited Jeffrey Goldberg recently to sit down for an interview. Yeah. And I don't know if you want to connect any dots there, but Goldberg's the guy that broke the Signalgate story. Is there something there? Maybe? I don't know.
What would you, okay, so what's the there? I mean, I can't even hypothetically, is it to shove it in Waltz's face? Hey,
no, I'm saying, did Goldberg enlighten Trump with some information or news about Signalgate?
No, because he printed everything. His mind? I don't know. I doubt it. But again, at least Mark Halperin's reporting from the morning meeting this morning was that was not what was driving this. That there was definitely, from a staff standpoint, some concern about his style and management.
It's also fascinating because he was among the earliest appointments to the cabinet, one of the first ones.
Yeah. I do want to.
He retained his seat in Congress.
Now, of course, the point of this is, Sean, it's not going to matter why. It will be because of something he did, Signalgate or whatever. That now they will figure out what is this first admission, this first concession by the Trump administration that somebody had to go. They finally got a scalp, so they're going to celebrate and come up with a reason why.
And that's the thing is that I'm surprised that Trump gave it to him. Because you're right. I mean, this is just going to help play into the media narrative that something's wrong. Technically, Mike is not a member of the cabinet as the NSC, but I will say, that obviously senior enough. I just wonder, is he the scalp, or is there someone else that you guys think is probably next?
Sounds like his entire team, by the way, not just him.
Oh yeah, I think they're all. Yeah.
There's been a drip after this.
There needed to be some type of firing to show the American people that your actions have consequences, and he had to go. It's unfortunate, but when you make a mistake like that, it was grave, and I think that it shouldn't have happened. You don't accidentally add a reporter, and then when he did his media tour and tried to explain it, we still had questions. It still felt uncomfortable, and I know he's not a, quote, member of the cabinet, but he's still the head of the NSC. We need somebody in there that's serious and that's controlling national security information.
It also gets them off Hegseth for a while, perhaps.
I don't know.
I was thinking.
Really?
Right.
See, here's the funny thing. And again, full disclosure, I'm friends with Pete. I'm a supporter of his. But I also think, does that give you some oxygen, or does that give you some fear that says, wow, they just whacked that guy, am I next?
Could be both.
Both. Yeah, I agree.
Welcome to Donald Trump's world.
You never know. But here's the question. Who's going to replace Mike Waltz?
The word on the street was Steve Witkoff coming into this morning. I will see. I mean, I will say, look, General Keith Kellogg was the chief of staff of the NSC during Trump 1. He was ended up becoming the national security advisor to to Mike Pence.
And
but
he's been hip deep in Ukraine this whole time too.
So,
now with that successful deal done, that makes sense.
Yeah, I will say that the credentials, one of the things that's interesting, and the reason that I liked Mike Waltz initially in that position is he understood, obviously coming from Congress, but he also, he's a special forces guy. He understood, like he's been on the ground, boots on the ground. And sometimes when you're, instead of just theoretically talking about national security, when you understand what it's like to deploy troops and how things react, I like that. So I hope that there's somebody that comes in with the gravitas of, that has the background of that. I will say,
because he seemed rock solid as when he was selected.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. One. Let me sort of touch on a couple of the other big things that are going on. The White House rolled out what is being called this new Drudge Report, right? And and what I think is people are missing, at least as far as I'm concerned, and I want to hear what you guys think on this, is they're focused on like the one thing. I talk to people all the time about like when people are communicating, sometimes they focus on a tactic. We should send out a tweet. We should put out a release. We should give a speech, right? And Nan, this as a member of Congress, like, okay, well that's great. That's a tactic. I want a strategy. Tell me where we're going and then work backwards and say, so in order to achieve this end state, we're going to do a speech on Friday. It'll be followed up by a bunch of, press releases and tweets and social media posts that will amplify that speech. Then we'll have an op-ed the next day. That's a strategy that utilizes tactics. And when the White House unveiled this Drudge-like website for news gathering, what I think most of the media missed, and I'll start with you, Chris Stigall, as somebody who was down at the White House, who's part of this, is that they're missing the bigger strategy, which is they having media influencer rows. They're calling into radio shows and doing podcasts, and they've set up the Trump 47 response tweet. This is not just one thing. This is part of an overall strategy to communicate to people where they are when they are. So whether you're Mehek Cooke in Ohio or Chris Stigall in Philadelphia or Nan Hayworth in New York, like they now are bypassing the media to give you news and information where you are when you are, Chris Stigall.
Every day, I think, in her briefing, Caroline Leavitt is introducing some new guest member of the new media, some new podcast host, some new alternative media outlet, every single day, rubbing it in their faces. There are people in that press briefing room that are now situated with access to ask her questions every day we've never seen or met before. There's more media and more information than ever before. This White House brilliantly, masterfully used it in November to get to the White House to begin with. I just watched Caroline give a tour of your old office.
She did one on makeup
video not too long ago. Yeah. They are personalizing themselves. They're having fun. It's like it is a bit, and I don't mean to say it in a pejorative way, but it is a bit like watching your government as a reality show. It's fascinating.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.